Werner Braun is a familiar face in Dachau, northwest of Munich. He's the fourth generation to run the Braun Butchery and Restaurant, founded by his great-grandparents in 1910. However, with no children of his own, passing it on to a fifth generation has proved difficult.
In the past, it was relatively simple. The son would always take over the father's profession. Now I have to find the right person individually for my craft, which is also an art.
Finding successors has become a quiet crisis for thousands of Germany's small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs. As younger generations pursue other careers, skilled workers are scarce, and costs for both acquisition and operations keep rising. The Mittelstand, as SMEs are known, make up 99% of German firms, provide 60% of jobs, and generate more than half of the nation's GDP, making potential closures a real concern for economic growth and stability in the EU's largest economy.
Danke. Of the thousands of small and medium-sized enterprises across the country struggling to find a successor, a report done earlier this year by the state-owned development bank KfW found that roughly 230,000 of them are expecting to close their doors by the end of 2025.
This is a nearly 30% increase from last year alone, a very worrying trend, says Germany's Chamber of Commerce.
Approximately 8% of companies nationwide are planning a transfer of ownership in the next 3 to 5 years, but the trend is towards closures. Previously, it was the case that there was one company and 3 acquisitions, and now there are 3 companies and only 1 acquisition.
This has led some to think outside of the box, such as Butcher Braun, whose solution was to legally adopt his nephew.
For me, it was about passing on my name. That was the main motivation. Of course, the tax aspect also played a role. So I thought, this makes perfect sense.
Adjusting high taxes is just one way both the state and federal governments could help, say the Chamber of Commerce.
Bureaucracy could be reduced. For example, in the case of company acquisitions, this would provide temporary protection for existing concessions and licenses, so they wouldn't have to be renewed, which would simply make doing business easier again, especially for new businesses and the younger generation. Much more could also be done in terms of training, meaning special training programs for those taking over businesses. And of course, financing the purchase price of companies could be made easier with loans that regional or state-owned banks could potentially provide.
Until then, the Mittelstand succession crisis will continue to ripple through Europe's largest economy, already facing its longest downturn since World War II. Natalie Carney, CGTN, in Dachau, Germany.